One of the things that he taught me was to give back and that a clenched fist cannot receive.
How do you get on with your life after the loss of your greatest love? Well, today we are talking to Debi B. Jackson, and she has some great information to share with us. If this is your first time, my name is Lydia Nicole, and this is Acting Smarter Now. Debbie, many people know you as Hal Jackson's widow, but you have carved out an incredible path for yourself since his passing. What is the most surprising or unconventional way that you have found yourself honoring Hal while breaking out of that shadow and being Debbie B again?
Thank you, Lydia. Through photography. I have had a passion for photography for a very long time. And I was able to take the pictures that you said that I needed to scan, and I scanned them over 400 pictures and put them into a retrospective of Hal's life. And it's going on the road. It's over 400 pictures that I scanned, and there's still more to go. But the pictures, the retrospective starts with 1939, which is when he started in radio. And his first interview was with Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. And it runs through 2011, which was his 97th birthday, and a party with Stevie Wonder, Melba Moore, Melissa Morgan, Gerald Austin. I mean, just a whole host of individuals who came out. But it's a retrospective of his life. And thank goodness for photography for me to make, to come out and be, I am still Debi B. Jackson, but not just Debi B.
I love it. So, for those who don't know who Hal Jackson was, Hal Jackson is part of Black history. He had an incredible career in radio from the late 30s up until when he passed. He was still on the air at 97 years old. He was a staple in New York at WBLS, and he affected many people in the industry, broke many records for many artists, and you guys were together for 30 years?
We were together for 36 years, yes.
36 years.
We were married for 25 wonderful years.
That's a long time to be married. Not only were you married, but you also worked together. So let the audience know what you did together.
Everything, everything. When you saw one, you saw the other. We were like two peas in a pod. But our life revolved around radio because that was his life. His life was radio. And so, therefore, we did a show on Sundays called the Sunday Classics here in BLS 107.5 WBLS. And if we went away, and Hal loved going away, he believed in rejuvenating. Our time was from Monday to Friday. We would go away Monday, come back Friday, rest Saturday so that we could be on the air on Sunday. We did everything together. I mean, because of who he was, we were always invited to a lot of different events, and we went. And he never said no. He was always a giver. He was always supportive. There wasn't a day that went by that he didn't tell me he loved me. I mean, the first thing in the morning, I love you, Deborah. Yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. He was really such a wonderful individual. So people got to see the two of us. You saw one, you saw the other, all the time. But he touched so many lives in so many different ways and started. I mean, I have a video of Lionel Richie saying, "You were the first to play the Commodores," and I have Alicia Keys saying, "You were the first to play Fallen when nobody knew who I was." He just touched so many lives. And I'm happy to say that I was given the opportunity to spend his last years with him.
You had this incredible love story with this man, and then he passes. What goes through your mind? This was the love of your life. This was the your soulmate on many levels, and he treated you like a queen. And now
Mm,
he's gone.
yeah.
What what's the first thing that comes to you?
Well, first, I saw it coming. I mean, because he was 97, and it started, I think, 2 years prior. I saw, like the down, because he was always energetic, ready to go, blah, 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 but he kind of slowed down. So I kind of saw it coming. And so I was preparing myself for it, but it's still, I mean, even I went back and I looked at the video of his funeral. And when I looked at it, I said, wasn't I there? Because I don't remember. I was just numb. I was just numb during that time. But afterwards, I just kind of sat for, I'd say a good 6 months to a year, and was just trying to figure out how, what am I going to do? And I didn't get depressed because I was still on the air. Clayberry and I still did the Sunday Classics. It was just, the Sunday Classics without Hal Jackson at that time. But I kept my photography going, and I kept taking pictures, and I kept traveling. That was the one thing that he instilled in me. You need to see the world. You need to take time for yourself. And one of the first things that I did was I took a trip to the British Virgin Islands by myself, a solo trip, which I'd never done before. But I did know someone down there. Neil Blyden was there, and he took care of me. He made sure that I was okay. But and that was like I said, it was the first time I did a solo trip. So therefore, I met a young lady there who was from France. Her and I became friends, and we're still in contact with each other. So it taught me that I could be me, and I didn't have to have somebody else with me, because for 30 something years he was there. But I learned, and I became a very independent individual, sometimes to a fault. But he taught me, and I learned. I learned, like I said, to be an independent person, and that you still have a life after. But the only thing is that it's been now 12 years since his passing, and I moved to a house. We used to live in New York, and I tried to get him moved to Jersey. He was not doing that. He was a New Yorker to the core. Okay. And when I saw this house that I'm in now, I came in and I said, he wouldn't want to live here, but I felt it was mine. He was still alive at the time that I saw this house, because he had said, I want something all on one level where I can see a view of New York. If I'm moving to Jersey and blah, 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 this house is none of that. But in this house, he's still here, just about in every room. It's bad. Here are their pictures. So I still have not gotten over him, but I am a very independent person, and I see that, and I feel him around me. So like if you lose someone, it's not that they are no longer here in the present, but they're always around you. You can feel a person's presence with you even after they're gone. And he's here with me. He's pushing me along and telling me, go ahead, go take those pictures. Get out there. I mean, like even with the retrospective that I'm doing, we put all of these pictures up, and one of them fell off the wall. That was Hal.
It was Hal because he didn't like the other people that were in the picture.
I won't say who was in the picture,
We
but
won't say, but we
mm,
know we know that was Hal.
that
We
was
know.
Hal.
Yes, yes, indeed. How has community helped you since the passing of Hal?
I lost Hal in May of 2012. And by November of 2013, I lost my first best friend. And in December of 2013, I lost my second best friend. I had three best friends, and I lost my husband and two of my best friends within a year. So that was kind of strange. It was strange. And so, like I said, I've kind of become a loner. I still have a lot of people around me. I know a lot of people, and a lot of people I feel are friends, but I'm not letting people in the way that I used to. I'm kind of, standoffish. Not standoffish, but I think I'm afraid of losing people, so therefore I don't let them in. But in the community, I stay out there. I am very much involved with Black Women for Black Girls. We still give scholarships to young ladies. I am a part of the Vivian and Ray Chu Power to Inspire, which also deals with kids, in college. I am involved with wheelchair charities. I'm involved with a lot of different things in the community, just to keep me out there and not in the house, because otherwise I'd be in the house all the time.
Mhm. Mhm. And in giving to young girls, you actually have an organization. You have a
Yes,
nonprofit.
yes. The Youth Development Foundation.
And that was started through Hal,
Yes.
and you have kept that going.
Well, actually, what started with him was the Youth Development Foundation, but under that was Hal Jackson's Talented Teens International. And that was for young ladies 13 to 17 with performing talents. And the winner would get a scholarship, of course, to college and a trip. We usually took them to like London, Paris, and the Caribbean. The competition had competitions across the country in the Caribbean, Canada, and in Africa. And all of the young ladies would come together for 1 week of activities.
And all the girls that came together were winners from their states or
Correct.
countries.
That's correct. Yes. Okay, so let's say they come to New York. The first thing that we would do on their first outing would be meeting with the official from that city or state or country. Usually, if it's in New York, we'd meet with the mayor. So we'd go to City Hall. So they'd see City Hall, they'd get a tour of New York. We'd go to the Apollo, we'd go to Harlem, we'd go downtown, we'd go to Rockefeller Center, and of course, the radio station. So they could see that, in radio, people only hear, a person's voice, but we showed them that there are other things that you could do in radio. There's marketing and promotions and all kinds of different things, so that it's not just what you hear. It's a business. And so we tried to expose them to the entertainment business in that respect, or take them like to A&M Records, and when we were in LA, a lot of different things. We were just exposing those young ladies to aspects, just so that, I mean, especially when they're here in New York, and we would have one of those double decker buses, and they'd be up going, "Oh my God, I can't believe it!" He's looking up at all these things. Can't believe it. And the young ladies would say, "I can't believe that there's other people just like me from London." Everybody is the same, and we try to expose that to them.
And you continue the nonprofit through continuing to give scholarships to young ladies to go to college.
Yes, I do that. We do a minimum of 5 a year. They have to provide their transcript after their first semester in college, showing that they have a 3.0 or better, and we send $1,000 to each of their colleges. The thing is that when we had talented teens, it was the most talented. Now it's to show that they have something up here and that they are ready for college. And out of all of the young ladies, I want to say about 90% of them have received the scholarship because they have maintained a 3.0 or better. And we have had two of them who have had a 4.0
Wow.
throughout the full year that they were in college. And if they maintained a 4.0, we would give $1,000 a year as long as they maintain that 4.0. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So, okay. So if I'm a young girl getting ready to go to college,
Mhm. High school senior.
how do I find you?
Okay, you go to the Youth Development Foundation.org and tap on the scholarship link and go in, read the rules and regulations. It's really simple. I mean, all you have to do is maintain a 3.0 or better, fill out the application, and we get loads of applications. So we only choose 5. So youthdevelopmentfoundation.org, fill out the application, send it in, and we contact you and let you know whether you've won.
That's beautiful. I love it. I love that you are still keeping Hal's memory alive by doing
Yes,
so many different things. Now
I'm
let's
trying.
get to you.
Okay.
Life after Hal. You MC all over the place.
Yes, I do.
How did you keep that going after Hal passed?
Well, people would ask me because they know, that I'm still around, and I have a lot of affiliations. As a matter of fact, I have something coming up next week, Saturday. The Positive Community Magazine is doing their Emancipation Day awards ceremony, and I won't be hosting the whole event, but I will be introducing the video that they have of Quincy Jones because, we lost him last year, and I've been asked to introduce that portion of the show. On March, I think it's March 8th, I will be hosting an event out in Brooklyn with the Neighborhood Technical Assistance Program, and they're going to be hosting women who are friends of women. So I'll be hosting that event. They just ask, I say okay.
I love it.
I love doing it. I love
I
doing it.
love that you have that his loss didn't have you become a recluse, because
Oh,
sometimes people can't move forward after
that's
they've
true.
lost somebody so big.
That's
So
true.
this this conversation, I feel, is really important for people to help them move forward after the loss of a spouse, a parent, a child. How do how do you keep going? So in your photography and your travel, you have been able to take incredible pictures of places you've been. You specialize in landscape stuff. So your many of your exhibits has to do with landscape. You have one now at in the Bronx that is about a New York state of mind, which is fabulous. So let's go into your craft. You, Debbie, the photographer, when you are getting ready to take a picture, what is it that you're thinking about?
They just come at me. The pictures just they jump at me. And a lot of times I'll take so many pictures and out of those pictures only one is the real one. I know I was speaking with someone because last week was the opening for the Bronx Art Space and New York State of Mind, there was a young man standing in front of a picture. He says, I feel like I'm right here. And it was a picture of Niagara Falls. I'm on the Canadian side looking at the New York Falls, but you see both falls. And he says, I just feel like I want to jump in. I said, no, you don't want to do that. He said, but what were you thinking? I said, I don't know. It's just, you see something and it says, you've got to take this picture. So I take the picture. I have one of the Empire State Building, but I'm looking straight up at it. And all that you see is they look like towers looking up. And that one is called Empire State of Mind. Then there's one at Rockefeller Center with Atlas, the guy who holds the world on his shoulders, but I'm looking through and up through it, you can see the building. Then there's Radio City Music Hall. There's the Harriet Tubman statue in Harlem. There's a whole lot of them. But I was in a New York state of mind. So when they did this exhibit, they said, we want to be in a photographer state of mind. I said, okay, I'll be in a New York state of mind. And I had the picture. So that one was really easy to put together because I love New York, born and raised.
I love it. So I want to go back to you. You talked about not only losing Hal, but you lost your two dearest friends.
Mm,
That can devastate a person because that's your lifeline.
hmm.
Those people were your lifeline. How did you cope with that? I mean, because it's hard enough one person goes, two people, but three people, that's like, oh, that it can just knock the wind out of you. It can make you question God. And so, what was your process to get to recovery?
Wow, what was my process to recovery? Well, one of them is that my sister Andrea, and this bracelet, I tell you, um, she was in a bad state of mind. I have to tell you the story behind this bracelet. She was in a bad state of mind. I went over to her house. She didn't want to let me in. Eventually, she did, and it was that her husband, well, it was her boyfriend at the time, had beaten her, and she had like a black eye and a busted lip. And so I'm talking to her, and I'm telling her, I don't know if this is the right person for you, but she wasn't listening. She really wasn't listening. And then my mother called, and my mother said to her, whenever you're feeling like down and out like that, go out and buy something that you can't afford and then take it back. So that you can get that rush, about getting something. So the two of us went to Tiffany's and the two of us bought these bracelets. I still have mine. She took hers back. So every time I put on this bracelet, I think of her. Anne is with me all the time. I know that. She was a hairstylist and she had a salon down in Lower Manhattan, and she was doing someone's hair and said, "Oh, I don't feel well," and went and sat at the shampoo bowl and had a heart attack. So that one was, that was like a, you don't expect it. With my other friend Sonia, she had lung cancer from smoking for years and years and years and years. She used to smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
Whew.
Yeah. Um, so I kind of saw that one coming. But those were the two people, when you feel like you got to talk to somebody or that you speak to someone every day, those were the two that I spoke with. So in losing them, I kind of went into myself. And I guess that's what made me become kind of like the loner that I kind of think that I am. I'm more shy than people think because they see you in the air, and you're out there and all that. But I'm a loner, but I love people. So how did I deal with it? I had to deal. I guess I'm good at that. I don't know. God put something in me that made me know that when someone is gone, they're not gone. They're with you all the time now. So, and whenever someone passes, and even on Facebook, I put in my comment, that person is now with you all the time. And I really feel that, because I know Ann is here. Hal is here and Ann is here. Sonia, not as much. But Sonia used to give me things like she gave me a little box, and in it had 365 verses from the Bible. And so I don't do it every day, but at least 3 times a week I look at these verses, and put it in the back so that I don't have the same ones coming at me all the time. So Sonia's with me, Ann is with me, Hal is with me. They are my friends. They are my strength.
You learned a lot of things from Hal that I believe you've been able to take and really build upon,
Hmm.
such as production, because you guys were doing the Talented Teens. You also really learned voice because of being on the radio with Hal. Um, and so now these are skills that you get to use. You are using them and you have mastered them and you have a new life because of it.
Hmm.
What would you say to someone who is in a situation where they have had loss? How do they take some of the stuff that they've learned through that relationship and build upon it? Something that was good, because not everything we learned is good, but to take something that you learned from and then apply it and use it to better yourself.
One of the things that he taught me was to give back and that a clenched fist cannot receive. So, one of the things that I always do is look to see how I can help someone, how I can give something. I mean, you don't have to give money, you can give time. And time means a lot, to a lot of people. That's one of the main things that he taught me. And to be humble, don't think that you are, because you're this, you know more than this person. No, be humble. Learn from people. It's being the person that you should be as opposed to the person that you think you are. He taught me just be kind. Some people just don't know how to be kind. Some people think that people owe them things. It's not that way at all. And you find that when you give, it comes back to you tenfold. So I don't know. It's just I've been very blessed. I don't feel like I've been wronged in any way. A lot of times, people will do something to me, and people will see what this person is doing, and it's like I think with me, I forget things or I just let it go. I just let it go. Somebody can do something to me today, and I just let it go because it's going to come back at them. It's not going to come back at me. That's the way I see it, anyhow. And I think that's something that he taught me.
When you lose somebody who's so um, a part of you, I think therapy
Mm,
and community are great tools to help you get on with life,
hmm.
to find your next chapter. And it's important. The value of therapy is so that you can get clear, so that you can learn. Oh, wait a minute! I do have more to offer. I I do know how to do this. Oh, I can untangle certain things, because a lot of times people don't have a good sense of themselves. And if they had someone who was being the one pouring into them, and now they're gone,
Mm,
it can be so devastating. Like, I think back in my 20s, early 30s, losing people who were such champions of me,
mm,
and feeling that loss. And what helped me was being able to sit in groups and sit in therapy, be it 12-step groups, or even just a group of friends that you could share what that person meant to you. I think is so valuable, because we've all been put here. The Bible tells us, I created, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And that's you, the individual, not you
mhm.
with a person. Yes,
Right.
you with a person, or you with people, that's great. If you're in a group, and you guys do everything together, but we were born here by ourselves, we will die by ourselves. And so we have to figure out what our purpose is, what we are supposed to be doing, how to do it. And you have demonstrated over the years. It has been so beautiful to watch you exploring and finding new ways and new things. And you do photography, but you also get into photography groups, so you're always learning, and I think that that is vital to learn, to
That's
keep
true.
learning stuff,
Right.
because things are changing every day, for
Yes, they are.
especially with photography. Because
AI.
when you started with photography, um what was going on with photography at that time? Was it still film?
Yes, it was film. It wasn't even digital. Actually, my first camera was a point and shoot, one of those Kodak cameras. Then I went to the Fuji digital, but it was still point and shoot, basically. And then I took some photography classes and I found out about aperture and, and how you could take things and make them seem um, fuzzy in the background, well, sharp. When I was with the photography group this past week, every time I'm with them, I learned something new. With my phone, I was taking pictures, and I said, "But my pictures, on my phone look so dark." I said, "Wait a minute, hold on, wait a second." And he went and he did something where it lightened all of my pictures. I said, "Look at this!" Every time I'm with them, I learned something new. And also, as you were talking with therapy, because I did go into therapy a while back, and then I'm back in it now. But with the therapy, I'm learning, even though I'm thinking one way, well, what was the other person thinking? My therapist will say, well, what do you think the other person was thinking? Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Because you're always thinking about what you're thinking. You're not thinking how you're affecting this other person. So, yeah, I do definitely believe in therapy. It did help me. I forgot. Yes. So, yeah, but photography, I mean, every time I go out, I'm looking for yesterday. I'm driving from the place where this exhibition is coming up that I'm going to. I went by there and I was coming back home, riding up a hill, and what's in the middle of the street? A turkey. So I took a picture and I took a video of this turkey just
Oh,
sitting there. I mean, it was just sitting there. Cars were honking their horn and it just sat there. I said, look at this bird. But, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I did put it up on Facebook, but, a turkey. And then later on, I'm coming through another and there's a deer. and I'm looking for my phone. I couldn't get to it, so I couldn't get that one. But I'm always seeing pictures, and I see the beauty in the world through the lens of a camera. I love landscape photography, but thanks to Hal, I was able to take a lot of pictures of a lot of people. There's a lot of pictures that I have of him with different people, and that was because of being in the right place at the right time. I am not a portrait person, but I have a lot of portraits. And now when I go to concerts, if they allow me, to have, because a lot of concerts don't allow you to take pictures, and they don't mind you having, of course, your cell phone, but they will not allow you to have a camera that has a lens that's 400 millimeters. Did you
Mm.
know that?
No, I did
Mm,
not.
I found that out.
Oh.
Yeah, so I take a lot of pictures, of people performing, and I have quite a number of those too. So there's a book or two in me, a photography book, that's going to be coming as well.
Just for a minute, because you were married for 25 years, what are a couple of things that you did in your marriage that you felt really helped it sustain all those years?
Well, I had been married before, and so I knew what it took to be married. My first marriage, I was quite young. I got married at 17, and that was because I was pregnant, and it lasted all of 4 years. So I knew what it was to be married. Hal asked me to marry him 6 weeks into us dating, and I knew I wasn't ready. I was at that time 31, and he was living in LA. I was living in New York. I was having a good time, you know, and I knew that I wouldn't have been faithful. So I told him, ask me again in a year, which he did. And it took me 6 years before I was ready, to be married. And he hung in there. But I knew that, to be married, you have to be faithful. Um, it's never a 50-50 thing. It's 20-80, and every time you meet in the middle. And I love the sanctity of marriage, and I know that you have to give and take, but it's more giving. I feel I think that it's more giving, and it's okay. It's like me giving, and then your partner also giving, but you have to feel the give from the other person that you're with. It's a give and take. It's a give and take thing, and when you find the right person, you'll know it. You'll know it. You know what? Let me take that back. Maybe you don't know it because it took me a minute, even with Hal. It took me a minute. And everybody would say, Hal Jackson wants you to marry him. And you told him no. I wasn't ready. And I could have. And a lot of people thought that I married him because of who he was. No, I married him because of what was inside of him as opposed to who he was. Because I was doing okay. I mean, I did a lot better, after. But I mean, I married the person, the individual, because of who he was. He was such a loving, he was such a loving and giving individual. And all I can say is that I loved him, and I still love him. That's a problem.
From someone who was outside looking in, what I saw in your relationship with Hal was, first of all, you never tried to compete with him.
No.
And in this industry, in showbiz, sometimes, if both people are artists, there can be a competition,
Mm,
or there can be animosity. You're doing well, but I'm not doing well. And what you did was you lifted him up. You always were there to champion him, and it didn't take anything away from you.
mm,
It just made to again. I'm an outsider. I'm just
okay.
looking in. It made him more vibrant, so that as he kept aging, he was still vibrant. And one of the things about Hal, I can't speak for other people, but Hal was always very good in having young people around him, so that kept him
Young.
invigorated, it kept him motivated, it kept him
Mhm.
going. He was not a person that you could look at and go, "Oh my God, he's old." I mean, I as a kid, being with Hal, because I started at the radio station at 13, and became Hal's traveling
Daughter.
buddy.
Yeah.
And I took care of his purse. That was my thing. I had to take care of the bag and the
Yeah.
and the newspapers.
Right,
And
right.
but Hal was always on the go and doing stuff, and uh very inquisitive, always asking you, what are you doing, what's happening, and he taught
And
me a lot.
pushing you along,
Yeah,
and pushing you
what are
along,
you doing,
pushing you
what
in
how are
front.
you going to get there, asking the vital questions.
Mhm.
What I saw when you married him, that was not he had never had, let's put it this way, he never really had a partner. He had marriages before you, but he didn't have a partner. He worked, he got the job done, he did what he needed to do, he kept going, but he wasn't at his best. With you, he
Mm,
was at his best. With you,
mm.
he was able to soar. That's not the case all the time.
True.
You brought something special into the relationship, because it takes two people to make a relationship or
Yes, it
break a
does.
relationship.
That's true.
It takes two people.
That's true.
I can be the giver and give, 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 but if that other person is just a
Isn't
taker,
giving?
taker, taker, at some point, I'm going to be worn out. I'm going to say, I give up.
I'm
This is
done.
enough.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but you guys had it he took great care of you, and you took great care of him. And
We took
that's
care of
what
each
that's
other.
what I saw from the outside,
Mhm.
was and I've told you this in the past, is that you loved Hal in a way that I didn't see anybody else love Hal.
Mm.
And I loved Hal with that was my papa. And so I was very leery of you in the beginning. It's like, okay, who is this woman? Who is this woman? What is happening here? But I was so grateful to God for you, because every time I saw Hal, he was doing great, and you kept him going. And I remember towards the end, you would, we got to go, we got to move. You had him moving. You
Yes,
you
I did.
didn't allow him to
To
sit
sit.
still.
No, no,
We're doing a
no.
trip, we're going here, we're going there. Even I think, because I was at the 97th party, but then I saw him 2 months before he passed, and you still had him moving. You still had him moving at 97 years old. So um, I saw all the work you put into it. And I'm forever grateful for you, because when you love somebody and you see somebody else loving on them and taking care of them, there's to me there is no joy. You have so much joy. It's like, oh my God, he's doing so well. I'm so happy. Everything is good. Life is good.
There were times when he would be in bed and not wanting to get up, and I would get on the bed and start jumping up and down on the bed. Okay, let's go. We gotta go. We gotta go. And he'd look up and you know, I'd make him go to the office. There were days that he just didn't want to go. And all that he did in the office was read his newspapers and sign checks, you know. But basically, it was like, no, we got to go. Come on, let's go. We're not staying here. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, I did. I kept him going. I really kept him going.
And you took care of him. And
Yeah.
so I just, I tell you this all the time. I think you got a book in you about what it
Mm,
takes to have a marriage
the marriage.
work,
Yeah.
because um, especially in this business, it doesn't matter how old the person is. There's always going to be a woman trying to come on in. There's
That's
always
true.
going to, or even, even a man come on in.
Yeah,
People are always
that's true.
circling the wagon trying to
Right.
get in, and
That's true.
and they're always, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot. Like, I think of Denzel and Pauletta,
Mm.
who I spent a lot of time with early on in their marriage, and to see the women throw themselves at
I
him
can
in
imagine.
front of her. And I remember taking one woman in the bathroom and saying, "I will kick your, that's my friend."
Wow.
And I was very vocal about that. Uh, I would get in the middle, uh,
Wow.
and
Okay.
I had that, and when I was dating uh, uh, people who were prominent,
Mhm.
and I could see it. I would have
Okay.
to get in. I said, "Look, I'm from the ghetto. I will take you
And
down."
see, that's where I was different because when people come and they get in his face, you know what I would do? I take a step back. I take a step back
Yeah, I didn't have that
and I would just watch
restraint.
because no, I watch because if he gets taken in by that, then he's not supposed to be with me. That's where I came from,
You're a
you
better
know.
woman than I. You're a
No, you
better
just see
woman
things
than
a little
I.
differently. That's all. I go across a room and watch. And then I would walk up, but I'd watch. I'm a watcher. Hmm.
I can't. But you just shut me down because I ain't no watching. I'll be activating. I'll be hello. Excuse me. Excuse me. Get out the way. But yeah,
Wow.
and I just think in this business, again, in show business, there
Yeah.
are a lot of traps. I mean, just
Yes,
to be
there
in a
are.
regular marriage, there are things you got to look out for.
Yes.
Men who go, or are in the office, or women who are in the office, and then you have someone who is circling the wagon in that office, or you have emotional relationships.
Hmm.
It may not be sexual, but they tell them everything. Then they come home
Mm.
and they don't have to say anything to you because they just shared it all with Susie or
Oh,
Billy or
right.
whoever, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it takes a lot to not just maintain a marriage, but to have the marriage flourish. And that's what
True.
you were able to do. So
Yes.
I just want to applaud you for that, and just say, I know you got those secrets, girl. I know you got those secrets. I want that book. That's all I got to say. I want that book.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to start
How to
writing that.
keep your marriage hot and exciting.
You got to keep them guessing. That's what I think. You keep them guessing.
Keep them on their toes. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Who's
ma'am.
who's out there chasing her? You know.
In your life after Hal,
Mhm.
what are your goals? What is it that you would like to do in the
Hmm.
next, let's say, 3 years?
Whew. Well, first, something that I wanted to do when Hal and I were together, and I still haven't done it, and I think I've told you, I want to go to Tahiti. I don't know what keeps holding me back. I think it's more the traveling there. I'm not sure what it was, but I mean, like even when Hal and I were together back in the 80s, hmm, I wanted to go to Tahiti. And this travel agent told me, oh, listen, I have some place that you can go. That it's because Tahiti, it takes you like a day to get there, but there's a place that you can go right in the Caribbean. It's called the Turks and Caicos. I said, the who and what? He said the Turks and Caicos. So when I think it was even before we got married, Hal and I went there in the 80s. And at that time, Grace Bay only had three hotels on Grace Bay. And if Google the Turks and Caicos at this point and put in Grace Bay, you see nothing but hotels, hotels all along there.
Is
Place
Grace
is
Bay
gorgeous.
a part of the
It's one
Turk
of the
and Caicos
areas
Islands?
in
Okay.
in the Turks and Caicos, and it's a bay that is beautiful. I had never, and I have yet to see any beaches to compare to the Turks and Caicos. And I've been to a whole bunch of different beaches in the Caribbean. Nothing compares to a close second, Anguilla, okay, but Turks and Caicos. Turks and Caicos, hands down. And Hal and I would go once a year to Turks and Caicos. So I got the Tahiti thing out of my mind.
So let's talk about My Feet Travel.
Oh, that's why that started. I started myfeettravel.com, which is a travel website. And the reason why I started the website was because Hal and I would travel so much. I said, well, get commission on these trips that we take. And I'm not that person who goes out pushing for people to use, my feet travel or anything like that. I still have it, but it's basically for travel. And because of the travel, I have pictures that from Italy, from Venice, from
Cuba, from
Cuba.
Africa.
Well, South Africa. See, a lot of the travel that I did originally was with the station. And so, therefore, we flew for free, business and first class to South Africa, to Ghana, to Senegal, to Zimbabwe. We were supposed to go to Nigeria and something happened and we didn't make it. Morocco. I mean, and that's the African continent. Twice a year, the station would go to St. Martin and Puerto Rico. So a lot of the travel with the pictures that I took, were from the station. But after Hal passed, I've been, to a lot of different places that we hadn't been to, which is one of them was Italy, and Spain. And well, my mother and I would travel a lot as well. She was my travel buddy. My mom, she's gone, but yeah, I miss her too. But I know she's here with me.
So people listening going, well, I can't afford to travel.
Hmm.
It's too expensive. But you are always looking for a deal. How can we find deals if we don't have, a big disposable income readily available?
One of the sites that I use is Expedia.com. And let's say I want to go, like next month, I'm going to Negril. Um, you travel at the time that is not the high season. The high season is, of course, the summer. So you go in the shoulder season. You go in from like the end of October until December 15th. December 15th starts high season. In high season, to go to Negril is going to cost you about between $2,000 and $3,000 per person. But you go in shoulder season, and two people can go for that amount of money. So it's and then you have to say, okay, well, I want to do this. So you plan out, okay, well, next year in March, I want to go to Negril. So I start saving now. No, first look for where you want to go, see what it costs, and start saving. That's something my mother taught me. Thank God she taught me that. She said that if you make a dollar, save a dime. Well, when I first became employed, I was making $37.50 a week. That wasn't very much money. And at the time, I was spending, spending, spending. But I started listening to what she said and I saved. Even if it can't be a dime for every dollar, you should save. Let me tell you how it helped me out. When Hal passed away, I used to we used to write all of our bills out of Hal Jackson Productions, and I was able to sign on that account. But when he died, I was unable to sign because I wasn't an officer of the account. And so the lawyer said, "You can't use that account." Living in a penthouse on Park Avenue, the apartment was paid for, but the maintenance was $3,700 a month. And to park my car, it was $400 a month. So we're at $4,100 just for roof and wheels. 4,100 a month. And I can't use that account.
And that's not including food, that's not including gas, that's
Electric,
not electric phone
yeah, I'm
bill.
just saying a roof and wheels.
Hmm.
And that was $4,100. I couldn't use that account for 8 months. Thank God I saved. That's all I can say because I don't know where I would be today if I hadn't saved and had the money, to pay bills, to make ends meet at that time. 8 months. Think about 8 months not being able to. Think about 8 months not being able to use your account. Okay, That's where I was. So save your money. Save money. You have to save. You have to save. You have to look to the future. You have to look to see beyond. I mean, like this Social Security, gives you a certain amount a month, but right now, I think the average person gets from Social Security maybe 2,000 if you're lucky. It's usually between 1,500 and 2,000. Think about that on a monthly basis, and that's all that you have if you don't have a pension or you haven't saved so that you will have something. How can you live off $2,000 a month?
No. Mm-mm.
Hello, save your money.
So while you were married, you had your own bank account.
Yes, I did.
So people listen. She had her own bank account.
Yes, you have to have. My mother taught me, God bless the child that has his own.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
mother was a very wise woman.
Yeah. No. These are the little things that people should know. Have
You have to
your
save.
own. Have
You have
your
to save.
own.
You
Yeah.
have to save.
Yeah.
I still have from, oh my God, from when I was working. Oh my gosh, this goes back to the 70s. I still have savings bonds. Do you know what savings bonds
Mm-hmm.
are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I still have some of those. I still have some. I need to go and see what they're worth because I think they're like $50 savings bonds and $100 savings bonds. And at the time, you could buy a $50 savings bond for $37.50. This is at $37.50 again. $37.50. And after it matured, it became $50.
Mm.
Okay. So they don't have those, I'm sure, anymore. But and I think it took 5 years for them to mature. So I was buying savings bonds. My mother.
Wow. Very
I wonder
good.
what you know what? I'm gonna go find out what those things are worth, and I'll let you know.
Okay. I can't wait to find out. This is good. There are some sites that you can pay a subscription and it will tell you. I get notifications all the time of trips you can take. They'll say, this ticket is available. You can purchase this for the next 2 days. You can go from uh, Los Angeles to Paris for
Mhm,
$300.
mhm.
So there are groups that there are things, if you're planning ahead, you can get into these programs and get your travel. There's also my friend Affirm that allows you to buy a ticket and then you pay it off monthly.
Oh, okay.
It was, yeah, it was great for me because we had two big trips to take, and I was able to do it through a firm and then pay for it monthly, and it was fantastic.
Mhm.
If you are able to pay in installments, and
And you can. You
then
can.
do it that way. So
Right. You know that those big water bottles?
yes.
If you put a quarter in a day, quarter a day, that's a dollar 25 for five, whatever. But a quarter a day, by the end of the
A dollar
year,
75 a week. Yeah.
there you go. Multiply that by 52. You'll
Mm-hmm.
have 50 something dollars.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just take the change that you get. And a lot of people don't even use real money, they use credit. You can watch with the credit. The credit can mess you up. It really can.
Oh yes, ma'am.
That's something my mother, I'm
Oh
telling you, here
yes.
she goes again. Something else that my mom taught me. She says, if you have a credit card, if you spend on that credit card, don't spend more than what you can afford. What you can afford, you will pay off by the end of the month. So if you spend $100 on that credit card at the end of the month, you're paying off that $100. And if you can't afford it, then you can't. No, if you can't pay it off, then you can't afford it. And save until you can afford it. My mother and father, everything that they had, the only real bill that they had that was like continuous was when they bought their house. At the end of every month, everything was paid. Even my father wanted to buy a car, a Cadillac. You know, black folks and their Cadillacs. My father wanted a Cadillac. He went and he bought it. My mother sat at the dining room table and figured out how much interest was going to be paid by the time that they finished paying that off. And she said, no. And they paid off they paid off the car way before. Then again, too, my father was a provider. My mother worked, but her money she saved. My mother wasn't, a person who would spend a lot of money, but my mother traveled a lot. That's how I got it. Also, between my mother and Hal, you know, anyhow, you gotta save.
Yes, yes,
You
yes,
gotta save.
yes, yes. Yes to the saving, and yes to the taking care of yourself
Mm,
while in relationships.
definitely.
So how would you take care of yourself in the relationship?
I didn't think of me. I really, I didn't think of me. I was always thinking of him and, how to keep him happy. And that just kept me happy. I, I've never been a person who thinks of myself, I guess. In any relationship that I've been in, but from every relationship that I have been in, I've learned something, be they good or bad. There was one person who I was in a relationship for 7 years. I'm in this relationship, but he wasn't. I'm thinking that we're living together, but we're not because he wasn't there all the time. He had clothes there, but I'm thinking we're living together, but we're not. I didn't know that until after, I was out of that relationship. But I learned you don't live with somebody unless you're married to them.
And why is that, Debbie Jackson?
Why? I ain't living with anybody unless I'm married to them.
But
Because
there's
you
a
think,
reason. There's a reason why.
well, because I don't know why I was thinking that I was living with this person and I really wasn't. He was out doing everything under the sun and not, I don't know what I was. Then again, too, back then is I was into a whole bunch of smoking, not that much, but so I guess my head wasn't clear. But that relationship wasn't what I thought that it was. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I love this guy. We need to get married. God knew what he was doing,
Yeah. So you don't live with somebody
unless you're
uh,
married to them.
unless you're married to them, because women tend to give everything, men to
And get
take,
pregnant and have babies, and he's still running around.
or they just go, you know what, this isn't working for me. I say that out of being in a relationship, living with somebody, thinking, oh, it's like being married. Hell no, it is not. You are, I think women today are a little bit better, but our generation, we were taught you give everything to the man.
True.
And so what I have learned is that as a woman, you must take care of you.
First.
We are nurturers. So most women are nurturing, they want to take care of everybody, but you got to take care of yourself first. I would say I learned about maybe 10 years ago to put my mask on first, because that was never a concept I knew. When you travel, you get on the plane, they always say put your mask on first before you can help everybody else. Well, I was always helping everybody else and then gasping for air. I can't breathe, and people stepping over me. Sorry about that.
Mm,
And keep going. And
mm,
what I learned is you must put your mask on first, meaning you must take care of yourself first. You must. And so, because of that, 10 years ago, I got a life coach because I felt like I was helping everybody, I was doing for everybody. And then at the end of the day, I had nothing for myself.
mm,
Because of that, I started getting up earlier in the morning to make sure that I took care of me for the first couple of hours. Because as a
mm.
parent, you're taking care of your kid, you're doing,
Yeah.
what do you need to do for your kid? And that really started to teach me, take care of you so you can be better and be able to take care of others. And you can do it without feeling resentful, without feeling angry, without feeling uh, worn down or beaten up.
Mhm.
You know that when you
Mhm.
take care of you first, that means you spend your first waking moments praying. You know,
Mhm.
thanking God for what you have. Bringing God your issues, whatever they are, having that little quiet time. And then what is your work? What is it that you want to do? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your creative outlets that you want to be pursuing, so that you are now ready to start the day? So I started learning that the first 2 hours of the morning were mine, even if
Okay.
it meant I had to get up at 5 in order to start getting ready for the day at 7. But that was something I had to do. And I'm now in a group where I get up at 4:45 to meet with this group from 4:45 to 6, because that feeds me. It gets me going. It helps me figure out, okay, where do I want to go? What am I doing? How is this helping me? And I find that um doing that, being in communities where you are getting fed, allows you to
Mm.
feed other people. And
That's
it's
true.
important. And I would say that even to men, those men that are really, because there's some men like Hal who want to make sure they take care of everybody.
True.
And so, this is not limited to women, but women tend to do it more than men. But men too, they're the providers. So they go out there and, "Oh, I got to go to work. I got no, take a little bit of time. That means you got to wake up a little earlier for
Mhm.
you, and then
Right.
start your day, because
That's
that
true.
that makes you a more happy person. And that saying that says, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy.
That's true.
Well, you got to be happy. You have to. And we have too many people in the world who are not happy,
That's
especially in
true.
entertainment. We have
Mhm.
people who aren't really, they're not in pursuit of what they want. They are doing stuff, or they're waiting for somebody to give them, and they're not happy.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
true.
then they're making other people miserable because they're not happy. And
Mhm.
the world would be better if everybody took care of themselves first, the first part of the day, and then be able to meet and do whatever they need to with other people. You have so many actors out there who are jealous because somebody else has a job. Well, what are you doing for to get to that position?
Mm.
Radio people, what are you doing to get to that position? Not cutting people behind their back, not
Yeah.
stabbing them in the back, but what steps are you taking that are productive and proactive for you, that does not harm anybody else, but takes you to where you want to go? How are you thinking strategy? How are you planning out your next year, your next
Mm.
6 months? What are you
Mm.
doing to plan? Having an exhibit takes planning.
Yeah, it does.
You just don't, oh yeah, even if you are
I'm gonna do
invited,
this.
even if you are invited to do an exhibit, you gotta figure out your pictures, you gotta figure out the sizes, you gotta figure out what the theme is. There's so much that goes into production. and
Mhm.
and from there, I want to talk about production. What are some of the things you can share with somebody of of the steps you need in order to produce a show?
Mm. Whoa. First of all, you have to think of a theme. Uh, then you have to go through any pictures it is that you have. Then you're going to go through culling those pictures and figuring out which ones actually tell stories by just looking at the picture. Finding a place to have the exhibition. What is the budget? What is your budget? How much can you afford to spend? Because you're going to have to either frame those pictures or have them blown up and
Wait
framed.
a minute. I'm gonna do an exhibit and I gotta pay for it?
Unless you have, you know, somebody who knows how to write a grant to get the money for you. I mean, I didn't have no grant writers. I need to get some though. That's for sure. Having what do you call it, an email list so that you can send out for people to make sure that there's somebody who's going to come in there to see the pictures. There's a lot that goes into it. I mean, making having a relationship with the facility, because a lot of times they can provide some things for you that you know that you may not have yourself. There's a lot. There's a lot. I mean, as a matter of fact, when we finish, I have two meetings that I'm going to uh, over at the facility. One is with the person who called me. She called me. She says, "I want you to do an exhibition. Why not do it on Hal?" Okay. Now, see,
Well, let's back up for a second. She didn't call you. She didn't just look in a phone book and go, "Let me reach out to Debbie Jackson." You had a relationship with her,
well, I had
so
also had an exhibition there before, and actually, a friend of mine
and you
called
did
her.
a production there.
Yes, I did last November.
Yes.
Not
So
this
so
November, November
so I
before.
think it's important for the audience to know
Yeah,
that
that's true.
relationship
That's true.
was
Yeah.
there
Yes. Yes,
in
it was.
order for it to happen. Go ahead. I didn't mean to
And
cut you off. Uh-huh.
when we did that production there was somebody, because I had gone there for something else, and they said, "You were the one who had that show in November." I said, "Yes, it was. I want you to know that the staff really enjoyed working with you and your crew. Your crew was one of the most professional crews that have come through here in a very long time." I said, "Mine? Okay." And that's my talented teen crew. You know, I have a crew. It's not big. It's a crew, basically 5 people.
So let me stop right there. Let's park
Okay.
it right there because I think this is important for actors. If
Mm.
you are doing your own production, it is important to have a staff or a team of people who are professional. It is
Yes.
important that when you go into a venue, that when you finish, they are happy that you came, not happy to see you go.
That's very true.
And how you have a great team is you put the right people in the right places. You don't put somebody who has no idea what it means to meet and greet people who
Mm.
has a sour face. You want to put that cheery person that says hi, who is great at customer service, who's
Right.
great at welcoming people. You want to put
Mhm.
somebody in tech who really knows the speakers, they know sound, they know the visuals, the AT, what
Exactly.
is it, ATV, the audio and visuals and all
Visual.
of that, who
Right.
really can do an outstanding job. Because as an
Mhm.
actor, if you are trying to do your own production of, be it a play, be it a mini, a web series, be it a short film, you can't do it by yourself. You need a
No.
team, and you need
Yes.
a team of people who know more than you know.
Yes.
And you need to take care of them. You need to be able to feed them. You need to be able to pay them. You need
Right.
to be able to make them feel that they matter so they would want to work with you again. It
That's
is
true.
so important. What I have learned in production over the 40 years that I've been doing, that I worked on Talented Teen, I worked on doing showcases, I worked with Robert
Mm.
Townsend doing
Mm.
movies and TV and stage plays and stand-up shows, and the
Mm.
list goes on, is that how you come in is really important. You need to know your theme. You
Mhm.
need to have flushed out everything you want to do. So when you get in the room and there are challenges, you have a better understanding on how to fix it. So it's like, well, I didn't plan this, but I don't know. Uh, uh, and that it is important to ask someone who's gone before you so you know what the pitfalls could be, because there are
That's
always
true.
pitfalls when you are doing production. Something is always going to go wrong, and
That's right.
it's not to be a pessimist. It's just how it works. Sometimes the sound won't work, or the light won't work, or somebody doesn't show up that was
Oh,
supposed to be there. I can't tell
late.
you how many times it has happened to me. When I was in New York doing my one person show, we had a day where the tech person, my stage manager, she was tech stage manager, she decided not to come.
Whoa.
And I had to put my 10-year-old daughter up in the booth to man the sound and light for me. And
Lexi.
Lexi had to do it all, and she did a fabulous job. But
Mhm.
those things happen.
Yeah.
I could have gone, oh well, the tech person didn't come, so now I don't have a show. I got to figure something out. I was like, no, the show has to go on. So you have to
Hmm.
figure out how you're going to
Exactly.
get through it. And
Hmm.
and being able to have a team is so
It's
important.
very important.
That really steps up to the plate when there is a challenge. They don't panic. They
Mm.
don't melt down on you. Because you'll have those people. I don't know. I just can't. It's like, oh no, you have to vet them well. You have to
Yes.
vet them well. You have to take care of them well,
Right.
so that when you leave the venue, they are still talking about you.
And that's what they did. That's exactly what they did. And the thing is that because I had those folks who have been with me all of these years, I knew who to call, and I had the audio and the stage manager and the production and, like you said, the greeter. I mean, just all of them came together, and when we walked out of there, and I felt the show was fantastic. It was really, really a great show, but I didn't know that the venue felt the way that they did until later. And I guess that's why, they called me back. Well, like I said, I had done a photographic exhibition there, I think before COVID. And then, I told her I'd like to do another one. She called me. She called me. So, but something else that you have to do too is you have to thank God. What I do is, at least once a day, I thank God. And then I also say to him, and thank you for all of the times I've forgotten to thank you. So I kind of cover it all.
And it's also helpful, and I learned this from one of my groups that I'm in, because I'm in a lot of groups. But one of my groups, she has us put 8:30 alarm at night, so your alarm goes off on your phone at 8:30 as a reminder for Thanksgiving, to tell God what you're thankful for.
Oh,
Or
okay.
to thank, to say to those around you, what are you grateful for today? I'm grateful for this. I'm
Mm.
grateful that the team showed up. Well,
Hmm.
I'm grateful that I got that $2.50 residual in the mail. I'm grateful for whatever it is that
Right.
you
Yeah.
are mindful to be grateful.
Grateful.
Because
Right.
I find that alarm really 8:30. I'm like, okay, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this, and
Hmm.
because gratitude also creates a different energy,
Yes, it does.
right? If you're always thinking about the negatives, that's what you keep bringing
Hmm.
around you. Your mindset is really important.
Yes, it is, because you can manifest things. I manifest parking spots. And what I'll do is I'll say, okay, parking angels, I need a spot. And I get a spot in front of a place every time. Just yesterday, I was going out to dinner with Dave. And yesterday was President's Day. So everybody and their mother was out shopping, right? And I said, oh man, I forgot. Parking angels, I need a space, please. Don't we pull up? And just as we pull up in front of the restaurant, somebody's pulling out. I said, thank you, parking angels. And he just looked at me.
But your mindset, you are expecting, you have an expectation for that to happen.
Exactly.
Life after Hal, dating, how has that been for you?
Well, let me tell you something. Actually, it was I was pretty lucky because Hal passed in May, and in February, when it came for Valentine's Day, I called Vaughn. Vaughn Harper is a radio personality here in New York on BLS at the Quiet Storm. I called him and I said, Vaughn, I don't have a date. It's Valentine's Day. So can I be your date with your wife? He said, sure. And Vaughn was doing a jazz show at a place in Harlem with Dave. And I met him on Valentine's Day 12 years ago. So we've been dating since.
What has been your biggest challenge since Hal's passing? And what has been your biggest accomplishment since Hal's passing?
Wow. My biggest challenge since his passing has been, and I don't know that it is a challenge of kind of like l- kind of putting him aside. I mean, it's I haven't, and I know I should, but I haven't. Like I said, in this house, almost every room, he's in it. So that it's kind of a challenge, but it's a good challenge. He's my friend. My largest accomplishment, I think, was getting this house because when I moved here, it was the first time that I had ever lived alone. Because, like I said, I got married at 17 and was pregnant. And therefore, I had a husband and a child up until we separated. When we separated, I had a child. And then I got married again and had a husband. And then he left. And it was just me. So when I moved into this house, my daughter said, "Oh, I'll come and I'll spend a night with you because I mean, this is a house. It's not an apartment; it's a house." And I was in an apartment for years and years and years, so there was always a lot of people around. This is a very quiet neighborhood that I'm in, and so I was a little afraid when I moved here. And she spent the night with me the first night, and then she said, "You want me to spend the night tomorrow night?" I said, "No, I'm okay," and I've been okay ever since. 12 years later, I'm still here.
Debbie is such a courageous woman. I love her so much. I want to know what you think in the comments. Put it down below. And while you're there, buy me a latte. And should you want to know more about Debbie, this next interview is coming up for you.